Sometimes, the deepest truths hide behind the simplest things. A single choice, a flower among four, can reveal more about who you truly are than years of careful explanations or masks you've worn to survive. This is not a test. It's not a game. It's a mirror. Think about it for a moment. Why does one flower call to you while another leaves you unmoved? What part of your soul responds to its shape, its story, its silence? Carl Jung taught that the unconscious speaks through symbols, images that bypass logic and whisper directly to the soul. Nothing you feel drawn to is accidental. Something deep within you resonates with it, like an echo from a forgotten memory. And flowers, so ordinary to the eye, are ancient messengers of the inner world. Edelweiss, Lotus, sunflower, cactus, four flowers, four paths, four faces of a single fragmented soul. Each one carries its own light, its own wound, its own hidden wisdom. What you are about to experience is not a conventional psychological test. No labels, no categories, no easy answers. It's an invitation to feel instead of think, to look at your choice not as something right or wrong, but as a sign, a door half open to something inside you that's been waiting to be seen. There are no universal answers here, only journeys. Journeys that lead inward, where the quiet things live. The fears you silence, the desires you hide, the truths you postpone. And these paths only light up when you dare to look within, without running away. You might wonder, how could a flower possibly tell me something about myself? But the real question is, why did that particular flower speak to me? The answer doesn't live in logic. It lives in your body, in that small spark that flickered the moment you saw it, in the memory it stirred, in the emotion it awoke. Because that choice wasn't made by your mind. It was made by your soul. In the next few minutes, I'll walk beside you through these four floral archetypes. Their origins, their energy, their shadow, their wound. And perhaps, somewhere along the way, you'll feel something stop inside you, a quiet recognition. That's where your journey begins. Are you ready to remember what has always been within you? Are you willing to meet the flower that lives inside your heart? The Edelweiss is not a flower you stumble upon by chance. It doesn't grow in crowded gardens or polished fields. It lives high in the mountains, where the air thins, where silence becomes heavy, and only those brave enough to climb find it waiting. To choose the Edelweiss, or rather to be chosen by it, means your soul has walked the path of the solitary. You are not one who seeks attention. In truth, you often avoid it. Yours is the spirit of the silent sage, the one who has learned to be alone without being lonely, to find comfort in quiet, to breathe peace in stillness. From the outside, you might appear distant, reserved, even unreachable. But that distance is not coldness, it's depth. Because the Edelweiss protects something sacred, its inner world. This archetype belongs to those who have learned the power of boundaries, not from pride, but from necessity. Those who have discovered that solitude is not punishment, but purification. When the world's noise becomes unbearable, you retreat, not out of fear, but to listen, to your own soul, to the whisper that others have long forgotten to hear. Yet every gift carries its shadow. For the Edelweiss, solitude can harden into armor, silence can become a cage, and introspection, that beautiful ability to look within, can turn into a way of hiding from the heart's risk. Connection. Perhaps you've felt that the world below is too loud, too shallow, too fast. So you climbed, higher and higher, searching for air, for meaning, for clarity. And maybe in that climb, you lost touch with something tender. The warmth of another's gaze, the vulnerability of being seen. Still, there is beauty in this path. The Edelweiss teaches you to dwell in solitude without feeling alone. It shows you how to replace noise with wisdom, small talk with truth, and chaos with peace. It invites you to value presence over performance, and honesty over belonging. If this flower called to you, or if you felt it called you by name, it's likely that life has forced you, more than once, to rise above, to walk away to protect your essence, to choose the mountain because the valley was too cruel, and that's okay. There's no shame in needing altitude to breathe. But remember this: life does not unfold only at the summit. Sometimes you must descend, not to lose yourself, but to share what you found above. Your calm, your insight, your peace. The Edelweiss is the flower of those who made silence their home. Yet even the wisest heart needs, from time to time, a soul that listens, not to solve, not to analyze, but simply to be there. So if this is your flower, cherish it, protect it, but don't imprison it, because your depth, your serenity, your truth, is medicine for a world drowning in noise. And though the Edelweiss grows in solitude, its fragrance was meant to reach others. The lotus doesn't bloom in perfect gardens. It rises from darkness, from mud, from shadow, from the waters where others fear to look. And yet, when it opens, not a single drop of that darkness stains its petals. How does it do that? Not by escaping the mud, but by transforming it. If you felt drawn to the lotus, you are someone who has lived deeply, not on the surface, but in the depths where pain is real and silence is heavy. You have known loss, not as an idea, but as something that cracked you open. You've faced betrayal, emptiness, heartbreak. And somehow, instead of hardening, you softened. You chose the harder path, to heal without hate, to stay kind after chaos. This archetype belongs to the mystic soul, the inner healer, the quiet alchemist. Its strength doesn't come from armor, but from compassion. The lotus doesn't need to shine. It simply is, serene, luminous, peaceful. Its mere presence brings calm, the kind of calm that is born from scars, not theories. But even the purest light casts a shadow. The lotus sometimes falls into the trap of overgiving, trying to heal everyone, even when it's breaking inside. It believes its worth lies in how much it can fix, how much it can love, how much it can endure. And yet, its greatest gift was never saving others. It was saving itself. The lotus is proof that you can walk through darkness and not become it, that you can be submerged in pain and still rise unstained. Choosing the lotus means carrying the silent mission of reminding the world that pain is not the enemy. It's the initiation, that no flower exists without roots, and the strongest roots are the ones that dared to grow in the dark. The lotus does not judge. It watches. It embraces. It knows that every soul blooms in its own season, and no amount of force can make it faster. It has learned that true transformation begins when you stop fighting your shadow and start listening to what it's trying to teach you. If this flower called you, it's likely you've already been through fire. You've already lost parts of yourself, pieces you thought you'd never recover. And yet, something inside you remains, softer, wiser, radiant in a quiet way. That something, that is you, the you who still loves even when afraid, the you who stood up when no one came to lift you. The you who found meaning in pain. The lotus doesn't scream to be seen. It blooms. And in that blooming, it teaches us a sacred truth, that every wound can become a root if watered with presence. So if the lotus chose you, know this. You are the keeper of gentle strength. You are living proof that grace can grow from grief. That softness is not weakness. It's power refined by pain. And every time you choose love over bitterness, you bloom again. The sunflower doesn't bend easily. It stands tall, proud, and radiant, a symbol of vitality, of courage, of unwavering hope. Its mission is simple yet sacred, to follow the light. Even when the sky darkens, even when the wind howls, it turns toward the sun. If you chose the sunflower, or if it chose you, you are someone whose heart burns with an inner fire. You carry warmth wherever you go. You inspire others, sometimes without even realizing it. There's something in you that brings comfort, energy, life. People see you as strong, as the one who lifts, who encourages, who holds others up when they cannot stand. And maybe you've believed that this is your purpose, to shine so that others can find their way. But behind your light, there are stories few have seen. Moments when your glow dimmed, when your spirit trembled, when you wanted to rest but didn't know how. Because the sunflower didn't start strong, it became strong. Its roots fought through the earth. Its stem learned to rise through storms. And every scar along the way became part of its strength. This archetype belongs to the warrior of hope, not the naive optimist, but the one who has stared into despair and chosen not to stay there. The one who has been broken, yet wakes each morning and still seeks the light. Your beauty lies not in being unshakable, but in continuing to rise after each fall. You remind others that light is a choice, not a gift. That joy is an act of resistance. But the sunflower carries its own hidden wound. The pressure of being the strong one. The fear of disappointing others. The exhaustion of always shining. Sometimes you forget that you too need warmth. That you too deserve to rest in the shade. That even light needs darkness to find balance. Maybe you've spent years holding everyone together. Maybe you've been the shoulder, the smile, the hope. But who holds you when your petals feel heavy? Remember this: even the bravest hearts are allowed to tremble. Even the brightest stars fade for a while. You don't have to be sunlight all the time. The sunflower's wisdom lies in authenticity, in daring to be real. When it stops pretending, when it allows its night to show, its light becomes even more powerful, not because it's perfect, but because it's true. So if this flower spoke to you, it's a reminder. You can keep shining and still rest. You can inspire others and still ask for help. You can be strong and still be soft. True courage isn't about never falling. It's about standing again with honesty. It's the quiet power of saying, "Today, I'm tired, but I'm still here." And when a sunflower allows itself to be fully human, to cry, to doubt, to break, its light no longer comes from the sun. It becomes the sun. The cactus doesn't bloom to be admired. It doesn't need applause or attention. It simply exists, quietly, patiently, surviving where most life cannot. It thrives in the places others abandon, under the burning sun, in the dry wind, in solitude so vast that even the echo forgets its way back. While other flowers wither without care, the cactus endures, not because it wants to prove something, but because it has learned how. If you chose the cactus, you are a soul who knows what it means to stand alone. You've learned to be your own shelter, to hold yourself when no one else did. You don't expect the world to understand you, and yet you keep walking, quietly, steadily, truthfully. There's a hidden ocean inside you, but you rarely show it. On the outside, you may seem calm, stoic, unshakable. But beneath that stillness lives a tenderness so deep, it had to grow thorns to survive. The cactus archetype belongs to the guardians of truth, those who protect their hearts not out of pride, but out of old pain. It's the flower of those who have been hurt where it mattered most. Trust, affection, belonging. So they built walls, not to shut others out, but to stop the bleeding. To choose the cactus is to resonate with a strength that doesn't shout, a strength that knows how to endure, in silence, without witnesses. You are the one who keeps going when no one is watching, the one who smiles even when your soul is tired, the one who survives the drought and still finds beauty in the desert. But endurance has its cost. Over time, your armor can become too heavy, your silence too deep, your self-sufficiency too lonely. Sometimes strength can become a cage, and you forget that even you, the unbreakable one, deserve softness, water, warmth. You don't always have to be the dessert. You can allow yourself to bloom. The cactus teaches that vulnerability is not weakness. It's the beginning of real connection. When it finally opens, its flower appears only for those who wait, who listen, who don't rush. It's a gift reserved for the patient and the sincere. If this flower called to you, maybe it's time to stop merely surviving and begin living. To lower your guard, even just a little. To let someone see the tenderness behind your strength. To trust that not every touch will hurt, not every gaze will judge. Because when the cactus blooms, when it allows itself to be seen, it reveals a beauty so unexpected, so pure, it silences the desert. It reminds us that resilience and sensitivity are not opposites. They are two faces of the same sacred truth. You don't need to bloom every day to be valuable. You are already enough, even in stillness. But when you do bloom, when you allow your heart to open again, the world remembers something it had forgotten, that the most profound beauty is not always visible. It is felt. Sometimes we think we're choosing, but in truth, something deeper is choosing us. Take a moment and remember, what did you feel when you first saw those 4 flowers? Did you rush toward the one that looked most beautiful, most familiar, most safe? Or was there another, one that made you uncomfortable, one you couldn't stop looking at even though you didn't know why? In the language of the soul, the real choice is not always the obvious one. It's not the flower that fits your image of yourself. It's the one that wakes something you can't explain. A vibration, a pulse, a quiet truth that was sleeping inside you. Carl Jung once said, "What you most need will be found where you least want to look." And within this test, that wisdom takes form. Because often, the flower that disturbs you the most, that doesn't fit, that you almost rejected, is the one that holds the message your soul has been trying to whisper all along. The flower you avoid may reflect the part of you you've exiled, the sensitivity you denied, the strength you feared, the truth you buried under survival. So ask yourself, did the sunflower attract you because you truly shine, or because you're afraid to stop shining? Did the cactus feel familiar because you're strong, or because you never had another choice? Did you choose the Edelweiss because of wisdom, or because distance feels safer than being seen? Did the Lotus call to you because of compassion, or because healing others has become your way to avoid your own pain? The flower is a mirror. And mirrors don't always show what we want to see, but they always show what we need to see. This is the turning point, when the choice becomes an encounter with the part of yourself you've kept outside the light. Not to judge it, not to erase it, but to welcome it back, to say, I see you. You can come home now. Because maybe the flower that unsettled you wasn't challenging your taste. It was calling your truth. And the moment you listen to it without fear, something beautiful happens. The mask begins to soften, the walls begin to lower, and the soul, long hidden, begins to breathe again. We all hold a flower in our hand, and another hidden in the depths of the soul. One is what we show to the world, strong, clear, acceptable. The other is what we hide, fragile, raw, sacred. Since childhood, we were taught which parts of us are lovable and which are not. We learned to perform, to protect, to polish. And little by little, we built a mask, a role, a character that kept us safe. But behind that mask grows a garden we forgot to water. Maybe you show the world your sunflower, bright, optimistic, unshakable, but inside, a lotus trembles, longing to be understood. Maybe you appear as the calm Edelweiss, but underneath, a cactus guards the hurt of being unseen. Who are you when no one is watching? What blooms inside you when you stop pretending? When the noise fades and the light dims, which flower rises from the silence? Because the tension between what we show and what we hide creates the fatigue we call anxiety, the loneliness we mistake for independence. Maintaining a false archetype drains us, and denying our essence never brings freedom. It only numbs us. But this is not about choosing one side over another. It's about reconciliation. When you stop pretending you're only one flower and allow all your inner seasons to exist, something in you finally relaxes. The mask doesn't fall violently. It dissolves gently, like petals opening at dawn. And what emerges is not a new identity, but peace. The quiet peace of simply being. Every flower carries a story, and every story is born from a wound. Because what blooms in the light once bled in the dark. Your choice wasn't random, it was recognition. You didn't just see a flower. You saw a memory of your own soul. Let's look closer. The Edelweiss. The wound of isolation. The Edelweiss climbs high, because once it was hurt below. Its solitude is not vanity. It's protection. Somewhere in your past, connection felt unsafe. You were invaded, misunderstood, or silenced. So you learned that distance meant safety. You built altitude instead of walls. Your pain is the wound of invasion, of being seen without being understood, so you created silence. But that silence can become a cage. Your healing begins when you allow trust again, slowly, carefully. When you discover that not every presence is noise, not every closeness is threat. You don't have to climb so high anymore. You can share your view. Your wisdom was never meant to stay hidden among the clouds. The lotus, the wound of devaluation. The lotus grew in the mud because it had to. It was told, directly or silently, that its softness made it weak. So it went down, into the dark, and found strength in surrender. Your pain is the wound of being unseen, of having your gentleness mistaken for fragility, of giving love that wasn't returned in kind. So you learn to love even more, to heal others as a way of proving your worth. But you were never meant to save everyone. Your healing begins when you turn that compassion inward, when you realize that the one who most deserves your tenderness is you. The lotus blooms not to please, but to remind us that light and mud are both sacred. The sunflower, the wound of abandonment. The sunflower shines so brightly because once it feared the dark. Its heart carries the wound of being forgotten, of being left when it needed warmth the most. So it learned to become the light, to smile, to carry, to lead, to inspire, believing that if it kept shining, it would never be left again. But that endless brightness hides a quiet exhaustion, because even the sun needs rest. Your healing begins when you allow yourself to be human, not heroic. When you realize that you don't need to earn love by being strong. You deserve it simply because you are. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your truth. The cactus, the wound of rejection. The cactus was not born hard. It became so after too many wounds. It carries the pain of being hurt for feeling too deeply, of showing tenderness in a world that didn't know how to receive it. So it grew thorns. It learned to rely on no one. It told itself that needing love was weakness, but those thorns, they're not your essence. They're your story. Your healing begins when you stop surviving and start living, when you allow others to approach, even if slowly. When you dare to believe that not everyone comes to hurt you. Because underneath those spines lies one of the purest hearts, loyal, honest, and kind. You don't need to hide your tenderness anymore. The desert has done its work. It's time to bloom. Each wound carries its own wisdom. Each scar hides a seed. The flower you chose didn't just reveal your pain. It revealed your path. The Edelweiss teaches boundaries with love. The Lotus teaches compassion without sacrifice. The sunflower teaches courage through authenticity. The cactus teaches resilience through vulnerability. Your flower was never meant to define you, only to guide you. Because healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to hide. All your life you believed you were one thing, one identity, one story, one flower. But you are not a single bloom. You are the entire garden. Within you lives the solitude of the Edelweiss, the tenderness of the lotus, the fire of the sunflower, and the quiet endurance of the cactus. They are not opposites. They are parts of a whole. Each one carries a truth you once needed to survive. And now, each one wants to be seen, not as a mask, but as a fragment of your wholeness. There are days when you crave silence, and others when you crave connection. Moments when you rise like sunlight, and others when you retreat into shade. None of it makes you broken. It makes you human. True maturity doesn't arrive when you define what you are. It arrives when you stop fighting what you also are. When you can look at every part of yourself, the wounded, the wise, the radiant, the raw, and say, you belong. Integration is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's the moment when the sunflower finally admits it's tired, when the cactus lets one thorn fall, when the Edelweiss opens its mountain gate, when the lotus allows someone else to hold it for a while. That's when the soul exhales. That's when healing stops being effort and becomes presence. Because you were never meant to live as a single archetype. You are a landscape of contradictions, light and shadow, strength and softness, wisdom and wonder, and all of them deserve a place. The flower you chose reveals your current chapter, your most vivid wound, your most urgent need. But the others, the ones you didn't choose, they're not strangers. They are waiting for you to remember them, to integrate them, to let them bloom again. The Edelweiss in you teaches solitude without escape. The lotus teaches empathy without losing yourself. The sunflower teaches courage without constant brightness. The cactus teaches strength without closing the heart. When these voices meet, when you no longer reject one to protect another, your garden finally comes alive. The wind passes through freely. The sun touches every petal. The rain nourishes every root. And what once felt like a battle within becomes harmony. This is the essence of Jung's teaching. Individuation, to become whole, not by rejecting your fragments, but by welcoming them home. The journey isn't about changing who you are. It's about seeing who you've always been, beneath the roles, beyond the survival. Because when you stop hiding your darkness, your light stops needing to prove itself. When you stop pretending to be one flower, your soul begins to breathe as the entire field. And that is freedom. The quiet, sacred freedom of being completely, imperfectly, gloriously you. It was never just about the flowers. It was about you. About the part of you that has been waiting, patiently, quietly, to be remembered. The part that never stopped blooming, even when you forgot it existed. You see, the flower you chose wasn't asking for your attention. It was offering you a message, a mirror, a way to look at yourself not through judgment, but through tenderness. Every choice you've made, every wound you've carried, every time you fell and rose again, all of it was guiding you here, to this moment, to this truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are the Edelweiss climbing toward clarity. You are the lotus rising from pain into grace. You are the sunflower learning to rest even as you shine. You are the cactus daring to bloom in silence. And somewhere between these archetypes, between shadow and light, between fear and forgiveness, lies the most sacred thing you'll ever find. Your essence. The real test was never which flower you chose, but whether you would listen to what it was trying to tell you. Because the soul doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in symbols, sensations, echoes. And when something in you stirs, when your heart beats a little faster, when your eyes linger a little longer, that is your soul whispering, "This is me. This is where I live." So next time you see a flower, pause. Don't name it. Feel it. Listen to what rises inside you. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's longing. Maybe it's recognition. Because deep down, there's always one flower blooming within you, even in the darkest season. The one that never needed permission. The one that never asked to be perfect. The one that simply knew how to live. And when you start to care for that inner flower, when you water it with honesty, sunlight, rest, and love, everything begins to change. Your choices change. Because now they grow from truth, not fear. Your relationships change. Because you no longer chase what dims your light. And life itself changes. Because the garden inside you finally breathes again. You realize that awakening was never a lightning strike. It was a slow blooming, a returning, a remembering. So whenever you feel lost, close your eyes. Take a breath. Ask yourself softly, which flower in me needs water today? And then listen. Because your soul, your quiet, luminous soul, already knows how to bloom. Not like anyone else, not in anyone else's time, but in your own way, in your rhythm, in your truth. That is your garden. That is your home. That is you.